Welcome, Mooncat viewers. This is a shadow reading, and it has been some time since I have done a shadow reading, so I'm going to review the concept of the shadow. This is a concept that was conceived of by Carl Jung. The idea is that in order to form a functioning society, there are parts of human nature that must be repressed. This is to create a certain agreement among acceptable behavior. And so as children, we learn that there are parts of ourselves that are not acceptable. And we learn to repress these natural parts of ourselves. And depending on what kind of culture you're brought up in, what kind of family you're brought up in, what kind of religion you were brought up in, what kind of community you were part of, these requirements or the parts of yourself that are deemed unacceptable can vary from person to person and experience to experience. So nature versus nurture, it's both. It's both what you are born with and what environment you are born into and what experiences you have. So over time, we're given messages, sometimes subtle and sometimes direct, that say this part of you is not acceptable. This part of you is unwanted. This part of you will cause you to be rejected. And because we are social creatures and depend upon our society for survival, it's a very threatening thing to have a thought of being rejected. So what we do is we learn to pretend that we don't have these aspects. Perhaps we affect the opposite of the aspect. Perhaps we bury and repress and deny it so much that we actually disassociate from it. And so then as adults, you can find yourself being triggered by things and you don't understand where that trigger is coming from. Or you can find yourself feeling misunderstood. You can find yourself feeling a lot of anger and resentment for people who exhibit certain traits or behaviors. Even if this hasn't done any harm to you, you can just thoroughly dislike people who have a certain or particular trait. And this is because you have learned to hate, to dismiss that part of yourself. You have learned to reject that part of yourself so thoroughly that you detest it when you see it in others. And so part of integrating as an adult and becoming a whole person is to make peace with these parts of ourselves. So it's pieces of this inner child who has gone unloved and feels quite wretched and needs and desires love and understanding, needs for it to be okay to have certain feelings come up. If say the tendency that was buried was a quick temper, and a person learned to control themselves, but they did this by pretending or denying that they have a temper. And so then in that case, that person would be very triggered if you tell them they have a quick temper. That person would be very judgmental of anyone who reacts in that way. And they would find themselves having difficulty processing and expressing anger. That's just one example. And so to live a more integrated life where we're not so quick to judge others, but we can offer compassion. To live a more integrated life where we have compassion for ourselves. If something that should happen, like someone cuts you off in traffic, makes you feel angry, instead of losing control of that anger because we're disassociated from it, then it is more possible to acknowledge and then release the anger, knowing that it is just a momentary inconvenience or a momentary disruption. So a large part of shadow work is uncovering the secret. It's a secret that's held deep within yourself that your conscious mind doesn't want to see, and so it can be very difficult work to do, especially since you're dealing with sensitive areas of yourself that you have learned to judge. We want to take that judgment away and bring compassion to it instead. And this is what the shadow work is about. It's about saying it is okay that I am a person who, fill in the blank, like the example before, it is okay if I'm a person who has a quick temper, because I can have compassion for myself that feels anger in this way. Okay, so what we're going to do is work with the cards today to bring out shadow aspects and to look at ways of healing these shadow aspects. I'm starting with the vampires. This is a deck by Lucy Cavendish, which is very well and tenderly, compassionately written. A good way to deal. A deck that I strongly recommend when doing shadow work. And I'll make sure to put the title and the author in the description box below if you're interested in doing that work for yourself. Okay, now I'm going to withhold the interpretation of it until we get more cards out, because there's going to be other decks involved in this too. I'm trying to get one more of these. I do feel that there was going to be two. My reading isn't very structured today. It's intuitively based, so it's just what feels right. So while I'm shuffling, I just want to take a moment also to say I have seen some growth in my channel lately, and I'm so grateful to see that. I'm so grateful to everyone who has subscribed. Thank you for doing that. Thank you for watching the videos. Thank you for taking the time to show your interest in them too. Okay. Let's take a look at the cards we have here. Using the Dark Mirror or Oracle cards, this points to identifying the shadow aspect. And the vampires, they focus on healing the shadow aspect. So from the Dark Mirror, here is Gilded Regret. And what this is being stuck in a past. Perhaps there's a happy past that is a better time than now. And in your mind, you're still living back there in that time period. Or you keep going back there in your imagination and imagining that things went differently. You know, that maybe things had worked out with a romantic partner when they didn't, or that a different path had been chosen in life. The problem here is that there's just too much time being spent in the past mentally. And this is keeping away the opportunities that are available to you in your future. So you can see this defensive stare from the girl in the picture. She doesn't want to leave the place that she's in. And she defies you to try and take it from her. And so you may be feeling this way, very defensive about whatever habits are attached to your past. But it's time to let those habits go, and this is going to be a hard work to do. The main thing there is going to be to look at what habits are taking your time rather than contributing to your time. Sometimes even activities that we engage in are nostalgic, and it's just time to release them, to let them go. There's a beautiful message here from the vampires in these two cards. The first card is Resurrection, and this is, as you might imagine, if you can turn away from that past, if you can bring your mind out of that past, looking towards the new future, then you're ready to embrace something new, to arise again in your life into a happy time with new possibilities. We see all the cats in this image. These are vampire cats. We see all these wonderful cats in the image because cats have 9 lives. They can reinvent themselves again and again and again. Or that is the indication, is the ability to let go of what has not turned out, what has not worked, what you have not done. Maybe there's a career choice, something you thought was meant for you, but it just never worked out. It's not looking like it's going to work out, and it's hard sometimes to let go of that concept. We get very attached to what we think we're supposed to be or supposed to do. Or it may be time to let go of that and allow yourself to be reinvented, to embrace something new in your life. So there may have been times that you thought, this is it, this is all I'm ever going to be. And then you just kind of took comfort in not trying anymore. This would be the shadow side. Sometimes when the ego tries to protect you, it makes you feel small, and this would be an example of that. But there is an opportunity ahead for you to completely change your life. You just have to choose to accept the offer. And this means shaking off the past so that you can start again. And in all honesty, change can happen very quickly, especially if you appeal to your spirit guides and appeal to your spirit family and ask for help with that work. So some ways you can just get up and start to make changes in your life, like looking for a new job or change things in your home, even if it's just rearranging the furniture, or make a huge change, like moving to another country or doing something to change your appearance. Just commit to making some changes and refreshing yourself. And know that it isn't false to do this, because you are a multifaceted, complex human being. And it's just as true to embrace a new path as it was to be what you were on the old path. And it's okay to release what's no longer serving you and become something new. Moving on to the next vampire. This one is about enlightenment, inspiration, epiphany, innovation. So here again is another reinforcement of the idea of allowing yourself to be open to new ideas and to change. We see another cat in this image as well. Okay. So this is more about internal changes, shifting in your thinking. And you might be kind of stuck in a rut in your life, repeating the same patterns over and again. So it's going to take some determination to break through that. Rethink how you energize yourself and then what you do with that energy. Power and energy are going to be a very important part of making the change. So maybe pick up a new habit to energize yourself. And don't do something if it doesn't feel like it suits you. For some people, yoga is very energizing. For others, it just isn't. And so you find what suits you. If it's not yoga, maybe it's a walk on a nature trail once or twice a week, getting up a little extra early. Or maybe it's just a walk outside, taking in a breath of fresh air, even if it's just a short walk around the block. Maybe it's doing a little bit of exercise right away to start your day, or just starting the day with a nice fresh shower, although you probably do that already. But the idea is what's going to invigorate you, what's going to energize you, what's going to prepare you for the day. And we're looking for a habit of activity, not necessarily like a cup of coffee, but something that you do that becomes an everyday habit. And as you engage in this everyday habit to bring in the energy, then you're going to be better able to direct that energy through the day and just say towards what is coming in. You'll find yourself feeling more optimistic because your body is ready for action. Your mind is ready for action. You're ready for change. And so it just takes a minor change to your structured schedule or what you're used to. And sometimes that is hard to do, I know. But if you can make that small change and bring in the energy, then you're ready for the enlightenment. You're ready for the inspiration, and then the energy can be directed towards that. So another important aspect to bring into your daily habits is going to be time to listen to your inner guidance. And it's just open your mind up curiously to what thoughts want to come in, and like you're sitting down and having an amusing conversation with a friend. See if you can move beyond habitual thoughts and habits. So instead of reviewing the day or mulling over things that happened in the past, see if you can get beyond that and let some inspiration come in and let some optimism in towards the future. And then when you are inspired, then put your energy towards that inspiration and just watch what happens. It might change everything. The other aspect from the dark mirror, this is Queen of My World, and it goes very well along with the Gilded Regret. And this is the idea that you've become so comfortable in your habits and in your inner space that it's like this is where you feel most comfortable with yourself, where you feel like an empowered self who's in control. And because it's most comfortable to feel that way, changes maybe haven't been invited, change opportunities maybe haven't even been looked for, because you're comfortable just in the zone where you're at. The work here is to challenge yourself with the changes that need to come in. Because being in this place, this inner world, is so shutting you off from other people and completely shutting you off from opportunities. And it's not allowing you to fully grow into your full potential as to what you can do or be or show up as in the world. And it's not as comfortable as it seems to be. There is no greater cage than the one we create within our own mind. And I remember this film I watched of a tiger who had been captured and was put in a cage, and for so many days was left in that cage with no way out, that it had resigned itself to being in there, and it had grown even comfortable being in the cage, to the extent that when the door was opened and left opened, the tiger didn't even try to escape. And this had been a wild creature to begin with. Through its entire life up until adulthood, had been a wild creature before it was caught. And so this is another sometimes we get very comfortable in our comfort zone, but that doesn't mean that it's the best place for us to be. The tiger could have chosen to be in that cage and under the control of others for the rest of its days. It could have chosen to live a minimized life that lacked freedom. But it had the courage, finally, to see that open door and to run out through it and to run on and never look back again. And so this is what's happening with the cage that of your own making in your mind, where you're the queen of your comfort zone. But there's something better here for you, and it's time to turn around and see that open door. That is the conclusion of this shadow reading. I hope you have found some useful advice here. And I hope, though it can be painful to see and accept, that it has been more helpful than painful to look at. Shadow readings aren't easy, but they can do a lot of good. And so I hope you'll stick with me in viewing them. If you have liked the video, then I'm asking you to please hit that like button at the bottom of the video. That little thumbs up really helps to spread the video and gain a greater audience. I do this work because I believe in it. I believe in our connection to spirit. I believe in the need to bring spirit back into our life and our way of living. And I believe that there is a great ache in the world because of its absence. And so the more people that can receive these kind of messages and resonate with them, the more people that can recognize within themselves that they have their own connection to divine guidance, then the more and more we heal that wound. And you can be part of helping me do that. If you are enjoying these videos, if you would like to see more shadow videos, then subscribe to my channel and you'll receive notifications when new videos are posted. I'm going to do shadow readings once or twice a month, depending on when it feels right. So so it's not a precise or exact schedule, but there will always be at least once a month. And in the meantime, between videos, then there's work to be done, work to be working on. Most of all, I'm just grateful that you have come by and viewed this video today. Thank you for watching, and I hope to catch you in another video.